Hello, friends, welcome back. We all know Venezuela for all the wrong things in the world. But this week, something remarkable started happening. Not in Venezuela, not in Caracas, but in Washington. And for the first time, American President Donald Trump, he has confirmed what many had only suspected, that he had secretly authorized the CIA to conduct covert operations inside Venezuela, a direct US campaign aimed at toppling Maduro's government. Now, this wasn't just another leak or a rumor, it was a confirmation from the president himself of a New York Times report published only hours earlier than Donald Trump admitting it. And that's what made it so extraordinary. Why I'm saying it? Because American presidents do not usually talk about covert actions. They don't admit it even exists. They don't even acknowledge the question. For decades, the standard answer has been I do not know what you're talking about. And if I did know, I cannot comment. That's how the system works. Deniability. But not this time. Trump did not deny it and he said it out loud. And maybe that was the point. Because inside the administration, officials have been very blunt. They want to drive Maduro out from power. They believe that an open pressure, which includes military, psychological, and political, might be the fastest way to do it. And in recent weeks, US warships have been gathering around Venezuela's Caribbean coast. 10,000 troops are stationed nearby. American aircrafts have bombed boats said to be carrying narco terrorists. And Trump has even hinted that a land invasion could be the next move. All of this, the administration says, is part of a broader campaign, a show of strength made to make Maduro panic, lose control, and flee into exile. I call it a perfect psychological warfare, or in other words, Trump style. But here's what the president hasn't talked about, and what might be even more revealing. He has not explained why. What exactly is America trying to achieve here? What is the national interest? And how does any of this fit with his own America First doctrine? Stopping the flow of cocaine is what they are saying. That would make sense, except that the drugs heading towards the United States don't usually come through Venezuela's Caribbean coast. The funny part is that the drugs are coming from Pacific, from Colombia, from Peru, and through Central America. Second judgment could be or argument could be that if it is not about drugs, then it must be oil. And Maduro himself says that Washington, especially Trump, he wants Venezuela's massive oil reserves to be under the control of America. So, oil has always been part of America's geopolitical equation. But negotiations could have been done with Maduro, and Trump could have talked to Maduro and said, look, I want your oil reserves in my control, just move out of it. But Trump said, no talks. And he cut off all the talks just weeks before he announced that CIA is having a covert operations. Third argument was he is trying to promote democracy. Now, restoring freedom to a nation which is crushed under dictatorship is what always America says. This is the old neoconservatives used to say during Iraq war also and Afghanistan also. But Trump is Trump. He has made it clear that he does not care about ideologies. He is not a missionary for democracy. He did not say he wants democracy in Russia, in China, in Turkey, in Hungary. He is openly admiring strong men around the world. So it is not about drugs. It is not about democracy. And it is not about oil also. Then what is it? Simple, plain. It's a regime change. Why? Because Maduro doesn't listen to United States. And United States has a long complicated history with regime change. From Iran, Guatemala, South Vietnam, you name it. Each time the script was similar. A dictator or an enemy leader is removed and a so called friendly government is installed. And almost every time, the consequences were far more worse than anyone ever imagined. That history has been written in books. A book written by New York Times reporter Tim, name was The Mission, is a warning that these operations almost always go out of control. They begin as a tidy plan, but the plan is only on paper. But they always end in chaos, violence, and regret. If you remember Iran's coup, it gave rise to decades of anti American rage. Guatemala went into civil war. Vietnam, we all know how it ended. Afghanistan, Syria, Lebanon, you name it. And yet, here we are again, another American president, another secret mission, another promise that this time it will be different. But Trump's case faces a unique problem. Even his official justifications don't hold up under scrutiny. For one, intelligence agencies have already rejected one of his key talking points that Venezuela's government is sending criminals into United States. Analysts are calling it baseless, and many have also reportedly ignored or pushed out after speaking up. Drugs, yes, Venezuela plays a small role in trafficking network, but they are not the epicenter. The real crisis today is fentanyl, and that does not come from Venezuela. It comes from China. It comes from Mexico. Yet, Trump has never talked about changing the government in China or Mexico. And that is why so many observers see this for what it really is. A politically charged campaign is more of symbolism than a strategy, a show of power. There is no policy behind it, just show of power to show that Donald Trump is so strong. And beneath this bravado, there is a deep risk. The risk that United States will once again find himself trapped in another messy intervention with no clear endgame and no clear benefit. Because history shows that regime change, especially in Latin America, always ends up messy. It creates a vacuum, it breeds resentment, and it fuels the very instability it was meant to stop. Maduro may be corrupt, repressive, incompetent, but for many Venezuelans, the American backed coup will only confirm their worst fears that Washington always sees other countries as pawn, not as a partner. So as US warships are moving towards Caribbean, CIA is moving in shadows. One question lingers as always. Has America really learned nothing from their own past? Iran, Cuba, Nicaragua, Iraq, Afghanistan, you name it. Every time the promise was the same: freedom, stability, democracy. And every time the outcome was chaos, resentment, and pushbacks. So, yes, what Trump said this week was remarkable. But what he did not say, or what he won't say, might matter even more. Because without a clear purpose, without a moral or strategic foundation, covert wars, secret missions have a way of consuming themselves and dragging nations down with them also. Like I told you, a book of Tim, almost all of them led to unintended consequences, often disastrous. This is written in Tim's book. And maybe, just maybe, this time also will not be different. And Donald Trump and his cabal of people need to understand the mistakes America has been doing, and now Donald Trump is again making the same. As always, if you ask my opinion, the American president or presidents, they never learn their lessons. Thank you. Until next time, good night.